Warm welcome to all of you. This is the Car and Bike Show. I'm Siddharth Vinayak Parthankar. Thank you for joining us, and I hope you all had a great festive season. Today we're going to talk about a new car, the Citroën C3, that's finally starting to get a lot of attention. But how does it take on the Tata Punch? Let's find out.
Our country's love for SUVs is a known fact. Be it a subcompact or a compact or a mid-sized or even with 3 rows, SUVs have been the flavor of the town for the longest period. This has resulted in the creation of a new segment altogether, with cars that look like SUVs, behave like SUVs, but don't exactly qualify as SUVs, and we would rather categorize them as small cars on stilts. But the craze of owning one of these mini SUVs, as they are called, is quickly catching on.
The Tata Punch has been ruling the roost ever since it was launched almost a year ago. It is a well-rounded product and a very sensible purchase for anyone who's looking for a family car under the 10 lakh rupee bracket. But crashing its party is the newest member from France. Meet the Citroën C3. It is a hatchback, as the company calls it, but it has SUV flair added to it to jazz things up. Now we've got both the cars today with us to tell you which one is the best value for money car.
Despite the small proportions, both the C3 and the Punch are high on numbers. The C3 is 154mm longer than the Punch, but 9mm narrower and 11mm shorter while riding on a significantly longer wheelbase. But the Punch shows its strength with better ground clearance, boot space and a larger fuel tank. The Punch also sits on alloy wheels that are standard fitment compared to the steel wheels on the C3.
Looks are subjective, but when we talk about the styling, both these cars look youthful and extremely vibrant in this exterior color. The Punch resembles a lot like its elder siblings, while the C3 also looks a lot like the C5. Well, what are the changes? What are the differences that you get in these designs? Let's take a look.
Both cars look youthful, vibrant and have a lot of charisma. Split headlamps and DRLs in front with a halogen LED light combination is a common ingredient here. While the Punch looks athletic and stylish with an attractive SUV-like tall stance, the C3 champions a sporty character as the signature chevron pattern takes precedence at the front. But what attracts us even more are the clever designs to conceal a few cost-saving bits. The Punch, however, has more SUV pedigree in its design and the styling speaks that tone. Citroën instead plays around with the design at the rear to give it a notion that the car is in fact an SUV. We love that the rear door handles on the Punch nicely blend into the black plastic element, while the clamshell door handles on the C3 feel a bit outdated. Tata offers a total of 12 exterior paint schemes, 5 monotone and several dual tones compared to the 4 monotone and 6 dual tone options on the C3. The Punch scores high on the quality of the shut lines, paint job and even appears lustrous with a very stylish design that has found so many takers. But the C3 appeals to a large chunk of the audience with its strikingly attractive looks. Both the C3 and the Punch have a well-designed cabin with excellent fit and finish, and this despite being on a budget. Both cars come with a slew of customization options, but the C3 has a superior cabin. The 10-inch touchscreen is truly a class apart with its seamless user experience. The Android Auto and Apple CarPlay can be paired without a cable. The fully digital instrument cluster imparts information clearly, but What surprises us is the absence of a rev counter, an important miss. Tata needs to update its minuscule display as it is the same unit that does duty on its elder siblings. What irks us the most is the cluttered graphic interface, an issue that is consistent with all its models. But we like the Punch's part digital setup with the MID at the center offering loads of information. Few other features such as automatic climate control, ORVM adjusters, puddle lamps and collaring lamps are all part of the higher spec trims on the Punch that are completely left out in the C3.
When speaking of small cars of this proportion, it is extremely crucial to consider the kind of room, the kind of space that the rear seat passengers would get. Now, both these cars are generous when it comes to leg space, knee room and headroom. But the C3 has a better leg room because of the extended wheelbase. Now the Punch obviously has more headroom compared to the C3, but it also has a better seat squab. So on a longer journey, the C3 feels slightly restrained, although that suspension really helps over longer journeys. The Punch on the other side is also extremely comfortable and relaxed over shorter or longer journeys. Now talking about the features, well, both the cars don't get rear AC vents, so you have to adjust with whatever is offered at the front. But the good part about both these cars is that ingress and egress is extremely comfortable, especially in the Punch, because this opens up to 90 degrees.
Things are extremely tight till now. But how does it unfold when the cars get going? Both the C3 and the Punch are offered solely in petrol versions, with Citroën offering a naturally aspirated and a turbocharged unit, while Tata only brings an NA unit to the picture. And so, our test vehicles are models in their manual avatars.
For a 3-cylinder setup, the Revitron is in fact quite peppy for most part. Well, at higher speeds you do hear that clatter, and I feel that Tata could have done a better job in damping that sound so that it doesn't come inside the cabin. Well, that's only when you rev it hard though. But apart from that, the engine refinement is quite commendable. It's actually really good.
Things are similar with the C3. This version is perfect for anyone wanting a supple and comfortable ride, without the need to put the pedal down at every given opportunity. Nevertheless, in terms of keeping up in city driving conditions, both cars manage to do it equally well.
Now the mileage figures given by Citroën for the C3 is slightly more superior than what Tata has achieved with the Punch, and mind you that the Punch does get the idle start-stop functionality, which also helps in gaining a few extra mileage. So the C3 in both its naturally aspirated and turbocharged avatars has around 20 kmpl, between 19.8 kmpl to 20 kmpl, and compared with that the Punch delivers below 19 kmpl. So realistically speaking, even with these figures, both cars are quite fuel efficient, and both the companies have done a commendable job in achieving that.
We were also impressed by the ride and handling on both these cars. The C3 handles nicely, and you'll be surprised by its comfort levels on terrible roads. Kind of reminds us of the C5.
Now Citroën has worked really smart in tuning the C3, and especially with its suspension. It's no C5, but Citroën has done a really good job in tuning this car for comfort. I can glide over potholes, bad patches, rough terrains quite easily, and even the gear shifts are quite slick. They're quite smooth, and yes, they are also refined. Right off the mark, the Tata Punch is slow. It's not the most responsive off the mark, but that gearbox, it's miles ahead from what Tata used to offer with its older generation of the cars. It's possibly one of the best manual gearbox that the company has offered, and the gear shifts are so smooth. The shifts are seamless. No more do you feel that hard feeling while downshifting or even upshifting during your drive. It syncs really well, and whatever flaws the engine has, this gearbox compensates for it.
Both cars are also appropriately suited with all the basic safety criteria. Twin airbags, ABS with EBD, child seat anchor points, seatbelt warning, and parking sensors are common between the two. What's missing on the C3 though is a rear view camera, cornering lamps, rain detecting wipers, and connected car tech, all present on the higher trims of the Punch. The absence of a rear defogger and even a wiper may pose a safety concern, especially during winter. Let's not forget that the Punch is also one of the safest cars built in India, with a 5-star global NCAP safety rating. The C3 is without doubt the most affordable vehicle in this segment. It undercuts the Punch at both the lower and higher end of the price spectrum, but has only a few variants to offer. With the Punch, Tata spoils its customers with a multitude of special editions to choose from. However, all these come at a premium over the standard versions.
Well, let's come to the bottom line. Both these cars come with their own set of pros and cons. The Tata Punch is a well-packaged product. It's robust after-sales service, a 5-star crash test rating, and the tons of variants to choose from makes the Tata Punch a very compelling, a well-rounded and well-packaged product. With the C3, Citroën has played it safe yet aggressive. It has trimmed down on some of its features to lower that asking price, and we've seen how that works in its favor. However, its only Achilles heel is its limited reach. Nonetheless, it's an absolute cat amongst the pigeons. But in an overall picture, the Tata Punch punches it out of the park quite comfortably.
Joining me on Car and Bike, I have Ilka Horstmeier, who is member of board at BMW. It's a significant time for the company because not just are we seeing a slew of new products, but it's also significant from the point of view of what kind of products we are seeing and the future direction that they indicate. It's wonderful to speak with you. Thank you.
Good morning.
Morning, and it's nice to have your time. I appreciate that. So, as I said, it is an interesting time for the company. It's very rarely that we see such momentous changes happening in our industry. Good time at BMW as well.
Yeah, it's a great time at BMW, and you can have a glimpse into the future of what BMW will look like with the BMW i7, which we present here in Palm Springs, and of course the BMW X7. And we are already moving into the future with the Neue Klasse in 2025, which will be a fully electric car, starting in the sedan class, in the 3 Series sedan class, and then moving up to the SUV. So at the end of the 30s, you will have about 50% of Neue Klasse in the market. It will be 50% all electric cars, and it will be a totally new digital experience. So you have 3 things you have to keep in mind when you think about the future of BMW. It's digital, electric, and circular.
And that, of course, is completely in line with how the industry is evolving as well. I know there are still many question marks in terms of how we get there, whether it's the raw material or whether it's maybe new technologies we still do not know about. But given the fact that there is so much uncertainty, how difficult is it then to plot such a strategy for the next decade?
We are very clear on the strategy, as I mentioned before, and for us it's very important to set really measurable, tough targets on that. So the whole organization will be aligned. We're not doing sustainability at BMW, we're making BMW sustainable with targets on the whole car. So we want to reduce the CO2 footprint of the cars by 40% in total. And that means tough targets in the whole supply chain, because just replacing combustion engines by electrical engine doesn't make a car sustainable. So we set up clear targets for the whole supply chain, 80% on production, 20% in the supply chain, and 50% in the usage phase of the car. And we add the next step, circularity, because that is for us, due to the scarcity of natural resources and of reducing the CO2 footprint, the next step.
So when you have these kind of changes afoot, of course, as you mentioned, the change is happening at literally every step of the process. At the manufacturing end, there has to be a lot of flexibility over the next few years in terms of not just what happens on a particular line, as we now see with the 7 Series, but also in terms of the adaptability to responding to market need or demand or certain trends. This is just the first step, I know, because at Dingolfing you've made the change already. What about the rest of the plants, and how will the workforce be equipped to handle the change?
Yeah, touching a very interesting and important point, especially as the CHRO of the company.
Yes.
Of course, BMW strategy has been always and will be in the future to take our people with on the journey. For over 100 years we did that, and we'll do that in the future. So we transformed basically all our plants in a way that we can build more or less 3 drivetrains in our assembly lines. So we use the same people to do so. And if there's a change, for example, in engine plant in Munich, which is a plant that has to transform now for the Neue Klasse, and the engine factory has to be removed due to that fact, we take these people with, we give them jobs in other parts of the company, we train them, and just to give you a figure, more than 50,000 people already have been trained in electromobility in the company. So it's a huge upskilling and reskilling program. And one good thing is there, if you have a little bit of time, if you foresee things, if you have a good strategic HR planning, then you can plan well in advance and prepare well.
And this is, of course, something that will gradually unfold across the world with your network.
Yes.
I know it's starting in Germany, but...
Each and every plant is now capable to build electrified cars.
So on that point, I mean, I know that there's been a lot of talk about having either the flexibility or the ability to flip completely to electric, depending on what happens in the marketplace or what happens with supplies. But in plants like India, for example, which is obviously still quite limited in its scope, or even something like Spartanburg, where it's SUV heavy and there's a huge demand for the existing vehicles already. How do you then hedge those changes?
Exactly as I said, each and every plant has been transformed already so that we can produce electrified cars in each and every plant. And of course, due to the market demand and the market need, we will allocate different models to the markets. And I think it's the best way to do it, because sometimes people just build new plants for electromobility, and then you have the problem, either it's underutilized or you have not enough capacity. So I think for us it's a perfect opportunity to balance, especially the next couple of years, between the drivetrains and between the customer needs. And that's what we call BMW's way of transformation.
Well, that is all the time we have on the show today. I hope you liked what we brought you, and you can always tell us what more you'd like to see. The interesting thing, of course, is BMW's very reaffirmed plans and commitment towards India, and also bringing us all of the EVs that are likely to come next. Please wear your seatbelts, please wear your helmets. Join us next week.